Glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, devotees. Welcome, welcome. Suswagatam. How nice to be here with you on this amazingly sunny day. It's amazing, isn't it? And here we are for our Sunday program. Unfortunately, we missed the Saturday program yesterday. Anyway, yes, but we're here today. And as you all know very well by now, the timing of the program has been changed, which is good in many ways. I hope it's good overall. We'll see how it goes. What do you feel, devotees? Is it better to have the program early like this, or would you prefer it to be later as we were having the previous few weeks? Earlier. Who would prefer later? Put your hand up if you prefer later. Okay, earlier. It is. Well, it's very nice actually that it's earlier, because at the end, we can chant some japa. Last week, Sunday, we were chanting japa, and it became night. It was dark when we finished. And it was cold last week. Of course, it's going to be getting colder. Anyway, here we are, devotees. Thank you for coming. We appreciate very much your interest, enthusiasm in Krishna consciousness. And we are today continuing on with our seminar on humility. It's a big subject, actually, and we can look at it from different points of view. We have been looking at it from different points of view. Today is our fourth day. Fourth day, and we're going to be carrying on. We're going to be carrying on because it's such an important subject, and it's so helpful if we can learn, you could say, the science of humility. So we will begin. Well, let's just begin first of all by chanting a few mantras. You can please repeat after me. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda. Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda. Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda. Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi, Gauravani Pracharne, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschachadesha Tarne. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam bhavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So, devotees, yes, here we are again, looking at the ever important subject of humility. And to begin with, I want to read a couple of verses. One of them is from, let's just hang on a second. One of them is from the, it's called the Brahma. Anyway, it's from one of the Puranas. I've got it here actually, but it's disappeared. No. Brahma Vaivarta. It's Brahma Vaivarta. I don't have the Sanskrit, but it says, Krishna is very close to someone who is humble. Krishna is very far away from someone who is proud. That's interesting, isn't it? That's really nice. Krishna is very close to someone who is humble, but Krishna is very far away from someone. Then Rupa Goswami, his book called Padyavali, they call it, of poems. Oh, from many different sources about different aspects of Krishna consciousness. And here's a really nice one about humility. Parama karuniko na bhavat para. Parama shocyatamo na chamat para. Iti vichintya hare mayi pamare. Yad uchitam yadunatha tad achara. O Lord, no one is more merciful than you, and no one is more pathetic than I. I am very lowly and fallen. O Lord Yadunath, please reflect on my case and do to me whatever is appropriate. That's nice also, isn't it? That the Lord is the supremely intelligent person. The Lord knows us better than we know ourselves. So we may have our ideas, what I need to do, what I should do, how I should improve myself, or how I can improve myself, and that's good. We should be concerned. We should be interested. How can I actually improve myself? But having said that, at the same time, we should know that Krishna knows better than me what I need to do. So therefore, a prayer like this is very appropriate. O Lord, no one is more merciful than you, and no one is more pathetic than I. I am very lowly and fallen. O Lord Yadunath, please reflect on my case and do to me whatever is appropriate. Yes, this is very nice. Submission, handing oneself over to the hands of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and praying, just do whatever's the best thing for me. So this is a nice prayer from Rupa Goswami in this collection of prayers. Actually, the author of this, the author is unknown. But Rupa Goswami is such an authority himself. He knows what is valid, what is right, what is wrong. So therefore we can trust that this verse is extremely important, with very beautiful expression of humility. One time, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master, one time he was asked, do you know the secret? Do you know the secret? How to become Krishna conscious? And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati is in a public program. There's quite some number of people there. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, he leant forward like he's going to disclose something confidential. Just listen, tune in, come closer. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said, yes, I know the secret. And then you know what Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said? Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, he quoted the third verse of Shikshastakam. Who can tell us what's the third verse of Shikshastakam? Trinadapi sunichena, tarorapi sahishnuna, amanina manadena, kirtaniya sadahari. I think we're familiar with that verse. One should chant the holy names of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respects to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy names of the Lord constantly. And then we can actually continue it a little, add a little bit, you could say. But it's nice thought. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy names of the Lord constantly. That's what the verse says, literally. But we can add that, and only in such a state of mind can one chant the holy names of the Lord constantly. In any other state of mind, it will not be possible. In any other state of mind, one's chanting will simply be temporary. And the mind, your mind will drive you. And gradually your mind will influence you to do something other than chant attentively. Is it okay? Too hot. You can lift up the screen also. Yes, so, and only in such a state of mind is it possible for one to chant constantly. Otherwise, the mind, you know what the mind is like. One devotee complained to Srila Prabhupada one time that Srila Prabhupada, my mind is like this and that, and so on and so forth. And it's so difficult. And Srila Prabhupada said, yes, I know. I have a mind also. Yeah. And I think you all have minds. I have. The proud possessor of a mind. Yeah. And I can tell you another little one, which is very much related. A little Prabhupada story. That one devotee was complaining to Srila Prabhupada about another devotee. He is like this, and he is like that, and he is like something else. And Srila Prabhupada, I cannot work with him. I just cannot, because he's too much. And Srila Prabhupada said, well, he's a devotee. So try to tolerate him and work with him. And the devotee said, but Srila Prabhupada, he's like this and that and the other thing and something else also. And he's too much. And I just can't work with him. And Srila Prabhupada said, again, more or less, but anyway, Srila Prabhupada said that he is a devotee. Please try to tolerate him. Please try to tolerate him as I tolerate you. Did you ever think of that? Generally, we're prone to think we're fairly cool, so to speak. Just, we know what we're doing, and we are organized, and we are nice. Of course we're nice. And all these types of things. But did you know, devotees, that for every single one of us, there is at least one other person somewhere, and there may be more than one, who is tolerating us, even though we think we're fairly, on top of things, so to speak, and just pleasant. But actually, for all of us, there's at least one person, and I think in some of our cases, there may be quite a few people who are just tolerating us. Oh, here he comes again. It's him. I'll just look the other way. So humility. We mentioned, I think, on the first day, that humility, tolerance, these things are very closely related. If a person becomes intolerant, particularly of other devotees, that's a bad sign. Even if there's another devotee who's very, say, eccentric, difficult, strange even, and if we cannot tolerate that devotee, then it's a type of reflection on our humility, because Srila Haridas Thakur, great associate of Lord Chaitanya, the Namacharya, the greatest authority other than Lord Chaitanya himself on the chanting of the holy names. So Haridas Thakur, he was, talk about having to tolerate someone who's a bit of a pain in the neck. He had to tolerate being beaten in 23 marketplaces. And it was very vicious. He had to tolerate that. So he was extremely humble. He didn't protest. And finally, in the end, when he had survived all 23 marketplaces, being whipped in each one, in the end, the soldiers who had whipped him, they all said to him, you know, because we haven't been able to kill you, we will be killed. And Haridas Thakur said, oh no, I don't want you to be killed because of me. And he just gave up his life on the spot, voluntarily died, just like that. Of course, he, by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, he was revived shortly afterwards. I mean, very shortly, within an hour or so. He was revived, but just see his tolerance, just see his humility. It's really wonderful. It's very amazing. So, devotees, I want to tell you a story today. It's a Lord Chaitanya story. It's Lord Chaitanya with Sanatana Goswami. And it's a really nice story. You may well be familiar with it. But if you are, don't worry. Prabhupada said, repetition of a good thing is good. And if we really listen to Krishna Katha very nicely, then we'll find that even though you may have heard the same story dozens of times or more, but if you listen carefully, you'll find that it's full of nectar. It's just full of nectar. That's the nature of Krishna consciousness. It's just saturated completely all the way through with beautiful transcendental nectar. And if you tune in, then you will naturally absorb some of that nectar. You can't avoid it. You can't avoid it. So I want to tell you this story, and then there's a verse at the end of it, or a few verses actually at the end, and they're very instructive about Krishna consciousness in general, actually, but they're very instructive on humility. So this happened when Lord Chaitanya was staying in Jagannath Puri. When he was staying in Jagannath Puri, then one time, even a couple of times actually, but in this case, one time in particular, Srila Sanatana Goswami was staying with Lord Chaitanya. Well, actually, he wasn't actually staying with him, but nearby. He was staying with Haridas Thakur, the same Haridas Thakur we just mentioned. They were staying together, and Lord Chaitanya would come and see them every day. And sometimes they would come to see Lord Chaitanya. So it's just a bit of back and forth here and there between them. But every day they would see each other. Every day. So one time, Sanatana Goswami came to see Lord Chaitanya, and Lord Chaitanya noticed when Sanatana Goswami sat down on the ground, Lord Chaitanya could see his feet. Lord Chaitanya could see the soles of his feet. So Lord Chaitanya could see his feet, and the Lord noticed that Sanatana Goswami's, the soles of his feet were blistered from the heat of the sun. His feet were blistered. And, it must have been pretty hot. So Lord Chaitanya asked him, "What happened to your feet?" And Sanatana Goswami said, "Well, I was walking over and I walked through some sand, some hot sand. But it's okay, don't worry." And Lord Chaitanya said, "What do you mean you walked through some hot sand? There's no hot sand between where you're staying and here where I'm staying. What happened?" So Sanatana Goswami explained that he had wanted to walk over, but at that time, in the middle of the day or so, in front of the temple of Jagannath, the big temple, there's so many people, many hundreds and even thousands of people just bustling and pushing and shoving through the crowds. And Sanatana Goswami was worried that if I walk through, because the temple entrance was in between where he and Haridas Thakur was staying and the Gundicha where Lord Chaitanya was staying. So it was a busy time of the day, and even at any time of the day it was busy in front of the Jagannath temple. And Sanatana Goswami had a very severe skin condition, like a type of eczema, that sort of thing, just gone wild. In fact, it was so bad that they were oozing sores, just really horrible. And even they were so bad that little worms had started growing in some of those sores. It's really extreme. And Sanatana Goswami, he was such a person, such a renunciate, and so caring about other living entities. You know what he did? When there was some worm in his one sore here, for example, and that if that worm somehow fell off, you know what Sanatana Goswami would do? He'd pick it up and put it back out of kindness for the suffering, conditioned souls. So anyway, the thing is that the big Jagannath temple, which is just a hive of activity around that time, and practically 24 hours a day, that there are many pujaris and assistants to the pujaris in the Jagannath temple. There's hundreds and hundreds. And they come and go frequently. There's always a few of them coming, going like that. And so Sanatana Goswami was in great anxiety that if I walk through there while all these pujaris and other assistants are just going back and forth, if I walk through there, it is practically inevitable that one of the pujaris, one of the special people who are running things in the temple, at least one of them is going to brush past me or even push past me. And then they are going to get some of the discharges from these wounds. They're going to get some of them smeared on their arms or their chest or back or somewhere. And then they may not notice, but they may go on just going about their business and come back to the temple. But then when they enter the temple later on, because they didn't notice the horrible stuff which has now become somehow or other on their bodies, they might go straight onto the altar in the temple, or they may go and help prepare some foodstuffs for offering on the altar in the temple. But that may have some of this oozing stuff has got onto their bodies, and somehow it may contact the foodstuffs being offered to Jagannath. And Sanatana Goswami thought, that would be too bad an offense. It'll be so bad for me that I don't know what I could do to live it down. And he, anyway, this is how he felt. He felt convinced that Krishna may not or will not help me go through the crowd without brushing against someone, bumping into someone, that sort of thing. So Sanatana Goswami came to a decision. He thought, I will not go straight through past the entrance to the temple. I will take the long route around and down onto the beachfront, and then come along the beach, and then come up to Lord Chaitanya's place. So he thought like that. He really thought like that. Even though it's a much longer way, if you know the place, it's probably 5 times longer. And it's very busy and a lot of people coming by. So Sanatana Goswami, he walked down onto the beach, and he walked along the beach, and then walked up to where Lord Chaitanya was staying, the Gundicha. And it was a hot day, hot summer's day. So as he was walking on the sand, sometimes in some parts of the beach in Jagannath Puri, sometimes you get black sand. Not much, actually, but you do get some black sand. Where I'm from in New Zealand, on the west coast, you get all these black sand beaches, big beaches, and just tons of this black sand. But you know the thing about the color black compared to the color white? Generally, beaches are white or something close to white. But in this case, the beach at Jagannath Puri, there were parts of it which had black sand. And black attracts heat, whereas white does not attract heat, at least not nearly like black. Black really attracts heat. So he had to walk on some of this black sand. And when he was walking on the black sand, it was really hot. And the soles of his feet became burnt. And burnt means they blistered. They blistered, kind of puffing up, bubbles. So therefore, his feet got burnt, and he came up, and Lord Chaitanya noticed this and asked him, why? Why did you go that way? And Sanatana Goswami explained that he spontaneously, naturally, he could understand what was going to happen. So therefore, he took that long route. And Lord Chaitanya, when he heard that Sanatana was so concerned about the standards of worship in the Jagannath temple that he accepted really significant discomfort and just physical pain to avoid compromising the proper standards. Then Lord Chaitanya became very pleased with Sanatana Goswami. And that is the verse I want to read. Okay. Here we are. This, devotees, this is Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya Leela chapter 4. The Lord and Sanatana Goswami meet again. And it's verses 129 and 130. Please listen carefully. It's about humility, but it's also about Krishna consciousness in the broader sense. So Lord Chaitanya said, Yadyapyo tumihao jagata pavana, Thomas Barshe Pavitrahaya, Deva Munigana, Tatapi Bhakta Swabhava, Maryada Rakshana, Maryada Palanahaya, Sadhura Bhushana. And the translation, my dear Sanatan, although you are the deliverer of the entire universe, and although even the demigods and great saints are purified by touching you, it is the characteristic of a devotee to observe and protect the Vaishnav etiquette. Maintenance of the Vaishnav etiquette is the ornament of a devotee. So it was a point of etiquette in the sense he didn't want to contaminate any of the pujaris and other devotees who were serving in that temple, because in that temple they have hundreds. I forget the number, but it's, I think, a few thousand pujaris and assistants, and then there's all the cooks and the cutters of the veggies and all these people. It's just like an army of them there. So Sanatana Goswami, he wanted to, well, he didn't just want, he observed the etiquette that you don't contaminate a person who is worshipping the deity. You don't do that. You let them, you make sure that they are clean. Because, you know, the famous saying, cleanliness is next to godliness. Srila Prabhupada quoted that on a few occasions. In fact, you know what Prabhupada said one time in that regard? Prabhupada said, cleanliness is next to godliness. And then Prabhupada said, actually, cleanliness is godliness. So Sanatana Goswami, he observed that etiquette very humbly. He could have said that, you know, I'm not going to walk along the beach. It's midsummer, it's so hot. I'll get sunburned and my feet will get burned, as happened. He could have easily said that. But in his humility as a Vaishnava and his humility in understanding how we have to maintain the standards and help with the maintenance of the standards, so he took the trouble. He took that trouble and literally accepted the pain. So that's humility. That's great humility. And otherwise we find sometimes people, if there's, you know, if they're not in the right state, but there's some, there'll be some inconvenience if they're going to do the right thing, then sometimes they just won't bother. Sometimes they just won't bother because it's inconvenient to me. That's the main thing. Therefore, I will be dirty, I will be sloppy, something like that. But not Sanatana Goswami. And Lord Chaitanya makes this point here. Well, let me just read the verse again and a few more verses. My dear Sanatan, although you're the deliverer of the entire universe, and although even the demigods and great saints are purified by touching you, it is the characteristic of a devotee to observe and protect the Vaishnava etiquette. Maintenance of the Vaishnava etiquette is the ornament of a devotee. And Lord Chaitanya continues, if one transgresses the laws of etiquette, people make fun of him, and thus he is vanquished in both this world and the next. By observing the etiquette you have satisfied by my mind. Who else but you could show this example? Now, just remember, just don't forget what we said about the condition of Sanatana Goswami at the time physically. He had this type of eczema or something of that sort, and all these open, oozing sores. It's really horrible and just all over. So, anyway, Lord Chaitanya, after saying this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced Sanatana Goswami, and the moisture oozing from the itching sores on Sanatana's body smeared the body of the Lord. Hari Bol. That's quite something, isn't it? Lord Chaitanya appreciated this effort that Sanatana Goswami had made to do things nicely, properly, and to do those things very humbly, even though he was severely inconvenienced. Lord Chaitanya appreciated so much that he embraced him. And all these sores with their oozing stuff, there were splodges of the stuff on Lord Chaitanya's body. And remember what he said in that first verse that we read, that even the demigods and great saints are purified by touching you. Actually, Sanatana Goswami tried to stop Lord Chaitanya. Don't touch me. My body the condition is just too bad. But Lord Chaitanya forcibly grabbed him, and just pulled him and held him in an embrace as an expression of appreciation, affection and appreciation for the special effort which Sanatana Goswami had made. So, for us, there's lessons here for us. There's a number of lessons here for us. One lesson, very important lesson, is that if we are willing to take some trouble to serve the Lord and please the Lord, if we're willing to take some trouble, then the Lord appreciates. Because the Lord is not just like a machine or a principle. The Lord is a person, and the Lord feels. The Lord has feelings, and the Lord loves, and the Lord expresses his feelings. The Lord expresses his love. And particularly when the Lord sees that his devotee is willing to make some special effort for his pleasure, for the Lord's pleasure, even at the expense of the devotee's comfort, and the devotee places himself or herself in discomfort, but specifically for doing something to please the Lord as a person, he appreciates. He feels, he appreciates, and then he expresses his appreciation. Gratitude, appreciation is followed by gratitude. If someone does something for you, then you should appreciate. Don't just take it for granted. That sort of negligence is really something rotten in our consciousness. But if someone does something for us, makes some special gesture for us, we must appreciate, first of all, and then we must express gratitude. So Lord Krishna, he's a person. He's not just a principle, a truth, some sort of impersonal thing. He is a person, and he feels just as we feel, he feels, but he feels on a huge scale, on an unlimited scale. Baladev Vijayabhushan makes this point in his commentary on Bhagavad Gita, that if the devotee makes some special effort to please the Lord, then the Lord who is unlimited, the Lord appreciates, and the Lord reciprocates unlimitedly. So we should try to learn from this. If you want to get some mercy, and that's really what Krishna consciousness is all about. How can we get the mercy? Because if you get the mercy, then ultimately the door back home, back to Godhead, the door just becomes wide open if we get some mercy. Mercy is such an important part of Krishna consciousness. So if we make some special effort like that to serve the Lord and please the Lord, then one way or another, directly or indirectly, or both directly and indirectly, He will give us mercy. And that mercy is such a transformational, such a powerful thing when it enters one's life. And it can transform one's life from a relatively ordinary life, you could say, in Krishna consciousness, to a real ocean of mercy, of nectar, a real ocean of nectar in Krishna consciousness. So, devotees, there you go. Let us try and take this to heart and see how sometimes when the circumstances are like that, how we can go the extra mile a little for the Lord, make some extra effort to please Him, to satisfy Him, even if it means a little discomfort for us. And, otherwise we might think that, no, I'd rather not do it. Yeah. Somehow to get mercy. So humility and activities based on humility, this is really one of the great keys for getting mercy and making spiritual advancement. And let me just conclude by making a point. You may well have heard us make this point before. But in the Damodar Leela, Mother Yashoda was trying to tie Krishna, but the rope was always 2 fingers too short. You remember that? Yeah. So, one of the fingers represented her effort as a devotee. And the other finger represented the mercy of the Lord. So the two were there. My effort, the personal effort finger, and the Krishna's mercy finger. And eventually, when Krishna was merciful, the rope became long enough and she was able to tie Krishna. And that's the essence of the Damodar Leela. But here you see the 2 fingers, not just one, not just the effort of the devotee alone. You just work hard and success comes. Not just that. And not just simply mercy alone, and we will not make an effort, we will just take rest. And Krishna, when you've got everything together, wake us up. Yeah, just mercy only. And nothing's up to me. But both, the effort and the mercy. So you notice here, you see my fingers. Can you see them from where you are? 2 fingers, right? This is my personal effort finger. See? There it is. It's a good finger. And this is the Krishna's special mercy finger. It's a good finger too. But you see which one is bigger. It's the Krishna's mercy finger is bigger. So that means that, of course, we have to try our best as much as we're able. But ultimately, the main factor is Krishna's mercy. Ultimately, the main factor. So let's remember this and be ready to make our best effort. But understand, if we really make our best effort, Krishna will be merciful. Special mercy will be there. And in this way, you can go from being, if there is such a thing, an ordinary devotee to an extraordinary, special devotee. Yeah. By humbly making an extra effort, and then Krishna gives his extra mercy, and your life just becomes extra special and wonderful. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Sadhu Sangha Prabhu. Is that you? It is. You're going to tell us the questions. Haribol. Well, you know, one approach you can try and take, and if you're able to get it together, it really works, is to keep the place so clean that there's nothing for them to eat. There's a little story from my own experience in Bhaktivedanta Manor near London, in England, that we had just moved in and the place was infested with mice, not rats, but mice. The rats didn't make it because there were so many mice. The mice overpowered the rats. But it was truly amazing how many mice. Hundreds and hundreds of mice. So we didn't know what to do, and the devotees asked Prabhupada, what should we do? And Prabhupada made this point, just keep the place clean. And Prabhupada said, they are not here for the association. Prabhupada said, they are here for the food. Of course, they're not here for the association. So if you keep the place clean enough, they will go to somewhere where they can get food. So we had a team. I think there was 4 devotees, and all they did from morning till night was clean the place. It was a big place, but, you know, not that big. So they would clean the whole place 3 or 4 times a day. Clean the entire, all the buildings, plural, and then go around and clean them again. And then clean them again a couple of hours later. That's all they did. But you know what? The mice did not go away. And some of us started theorizing, maybe they are here for the association. I remember offering Mangal Arati on the altar, Radha Gokulananda, on a few occasions, offering the arati, and there the kirtan's going on, and there are a few mice on the altar dancing in the kirtan. And so then we just moved towards them momentarily, and off they'd go and come back and continue with the arati, and they'd be back. It was uncanny. So many of them. So yeah, we didn't know what to do. So one devotee had a brilliant idea, and that was, why don't we get a cat? So we did. And you know, take a guess, it was a female cat. Guess what we named the cat? Nrsimha Devi. And Nrsimha Devi, in a few days, it didn't take long, she put on a lot of weight. say no more. And the mice, they just sort of disappeared. Yeah, so we didn't have to kill them. Devotees asked Prabhupada this very same question, or particularly about cockroaches, on a few occasions. And Prabhupada gave the same answer, cleanliness. But there were occasions when devotees said, Prabhupada, we are cleaning this place. This place is so clean, but they're still here. And then Prabhupada did say that, if you really have to, you can kill them. But he didn't like the idea. But if it comes down to sort of, it's either our life or their life, if it comes down to that sort of level, you may have to do it. But we shouldn't just whimsically call in the, what do they call them? Fumigators. Just go for it. We should make every effort to keep the place clean and discourage them. This is why, it's good if you're troubled by mosquitoes, like if you go to India, then, particularly if you go, well, almost any time, but Gaur Purnima, in between seasons, the mosquitoes come out. And it's good to use the South African product, Peaceful Sleep. Squirt it on your body. It really works for hours, for the whole night. And at Mayapur, I remember, up a few floors, looking down around the front entrance to the Radha Madhava temple, and devotees sort of congregate and talk and spend time together. And you see some of them, they're moving. And then they're rubbing their legs. And then they're moving. But then you see another devotee is just standing there, not moving. And this is a devotee who has peaceful sleep. And I'm one of them, yeah. So, there's some thoughts on that subject. Hare Krishna. Go ahead. have to give a short class as soon as, well, at 3:30 to be precise, in Russian to some devotees in Russia. Will I do it from here? I have to give a class in Russian. Здесь или там? Okay. So yeah, it's going to be like a 15-minute class. So, from 3:30 till, say, 3:45 or 3:50. But then I'm sure by 3:50, I'll be here. Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada. Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Sri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma. Sri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma. Prabhupada. Bandamo Isavadana Mate. Bandamo Isavadana Mate. Yara Prasadebai Ebhavatorya Jai. Yara prasade bai ebhavatoria jai. Prabhupada. Krishna prapti hoya haite. Krishna prapti hoya haite. Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chetete Korya Aikya. Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chetete Korya Aikya. Ana Koryo Mane Asha. Ana Koryo Mane Asha. Shri Guru Charane Rati Ese Otamagati. Shri Guru Charane Rati Ese Otamagati. Prabhupada. Ye prasade pure sarva asha. Ye prasade pure sarva asha. Chakudana dila janme prabhu se. Chakudana dila janme prabhu se. Dibya Ganri de Prakasita. Dibya Ganri de Prakasita. Prema Bhakti Jahoite Avijavinashajate. Prema Bhakti Jahoite Avijavinashajate. Vedegai Jaharacharita. Vedega Jahara Charita Sri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adama Janarabando Sri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adama Janarabando Lokanath Lokera Jivana Lokanatha Lokera Jivana Aprabhu Karadaya Daya More Padachaya Aprabhu Karadaya Daya More Padachaya Ebijasko Suchi Bhavana Ebijasa Gusukchi Bhavana Aprabhu Karadaya Daya More Padachaya Aprabhu Karadaya Daya More Padachaya Prabhupada Laila Sharana Srila Prabhupada Patita Pavana Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Saminiti Namene. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nevishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Dejatarine. Prabhupada. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasadi Gabhakta Vrinda. Nityananda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Chaitanya, Nityananda, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribol. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribo, 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 Haribo. Netaga, Haribo, 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 Haribo. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jai Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajacharya Stanisasismad, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki, ISKCON's founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki, Anantaguri Vaishnava Vrinda Ki, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki, Prem Sigahas Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Shamkund Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki, Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki, Shri Mayapur Dham Ki, Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki, Shri Shri Radha Radhanath Ki, Shri Giri Govardhan Ki, Shri Shri Nitai Gaura Hari Ki, Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Devi Ki, Srila Prabhupada Ki, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki, Go Premanande. All glories to their Sama devotees. All glories to their Sama devotees. All glories to their Sama devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. So what I'm going to do, we're going to start our class in Russian language in half an hour. So we have half an hour now for chanting japa, whoever would like. Okay? And then I'll have to go and give the class. And if you want to hear a class by me in Russian, well, you'd have to just tune into our Russian Zoom. We can give you the address if you want to hear it. Yes. But anyway, let us chant japa now for half an hour. And if you want to carry on and get prasadam, etc., just feel free, of course. This is just for fanatical japa chanters, which it's very good to be. Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas, Adi Gaura Bhaktivinoda, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Sorry? Yeah, I've damaged some of my teeth yesterday for the time being till we have crowns put on. Huh? Yeah. Soups and soups. Thank you. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Ram Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram, Hare Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Ram Ram Ram, Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna. Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Chaitanya Prabhu, Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shas, Hare Gauravantaranda, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Ram Ram, Hare Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Ram Ram, Ram Ram Ram, Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Krishna Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna 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 Hari 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 Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Ram Hari Hari Ram 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 Hari Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna 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 Hari Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Krishna Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna 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 Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna 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 Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna 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 Hari 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 Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna 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 Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna 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 Hari Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna 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 Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna 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 Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna 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 Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna 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 Hari Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna 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 Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna 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 Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna 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 Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna 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 Hari 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 Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari Ram Hari Hari Ram Hari Ram Ram Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ajuna Charan, can you bring the other garland? You know the other garland? Turai Garland. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna. Okay. Yeah, okay. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram. Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna 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 Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Ram